We're going to start off, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves and the name of your film, and then we're going to go on to our first question. So you start and we'll go down the line.
My name is Blake Rice and I directed People Like You.
Okay,
My name is Josh Mays. I wrote, acted in, and produced People Like You.
great. Okay.
I'm Michelle Lyman. I wrote, directed, produced, and acted in Acceptables.
I'm Audrey Bennett, and I was in Regulation.
I'm Joanne Bowe, and I produced Regulation.
I'm Alessia Gatti, and I've written and directed Radici.
I'm Mark Sposato, and I co-wrote and co-directed I've Been Compromised.
I'm Courtney Sposato, and I co-wrote and co-directed I've Been Compromised.
I'm Wendy Long, and I produce I've Been Compromised.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so we're going to start off with our first question. So I want to ask each one of you, and we're going to move down our line again, what inspired you to make this film? What inspired you behind the storyline? You know, any interesting details that we may not have picked up from the movie? So go ahead, we'll start and move down.
You wrote it. You want to talk about what inspired you to write it?
This film really had an organic beginning. It didn't really have much of an objective. I was with Gabby, who's the other actress, or the other actor in the movie, and we were talking one day, and we just said we need to make something, so it kind of just sprung from that conversation, and I wanted to do something that was kind of pessimistic and just looking at what, kind of the way that the world works, even though we're hopefully moving towards something different in terms of the relationship between white, wealthy men and everybody else. People like you.
All right, thank you. All right, go ahead.
Acceptables, actually, I had a dream, and it ended up being a completely different film
Okay.
than the dream, but the news just was disturbing to me. Every day there was something new, and I'm sure if anyone here watches the news, you picked up certain things from my film that came straight from the news. And you know, I'm an artist, so we have to reflect the culture and speak to the culture and amplify some things, and I started taking notes of things that were in my head or things I saw on the news, and then a couple weeks later I decided to just write a script.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, next.
Okay, well, the director, Ryan Patch, couldn't be here today, but I remember him and I have known each other for a while, and he was really interested in bioethics, and I came on board quite late in the game, only like a month and a half of pre-production, but for me, I remember it became very, very real once we casted Audrey, actually. That was when everything kind of rolled together and it felt very, very real. But Ryan was initially interested in bioethics and what it meant to regulate happiness and to regulate people of here, like everyone.
Right, okay, great, thank you. Okay.
Radici has been inspired from my grandparents and all the stories that I've listened to growing up, and I still hear. My grandmother still calls me, and we're 1 hour on the phone, and all I say is, oh yeah, sure. Yeah, she just keeps going on, and we've been saying the same stories. So I said, I need the stories to be on a film for me, for whoever comes next. And living in New York for 7 years, I thought, what a little girl from New York would do if she goes back to where I'm from and this beautiful landscape. It's totally safe. She can run for fields without no problems at all, and that's what inspired the story and motivated the story. So it's my 4 grandparents blended in one, and
Okay.
my hometown.
Thank you. Okay.
Well, my co-director asked me to speak for us, but we're a filmmaking couple. We're married, and we've both been really inspired by a lot of the great films we've seen over the last year. At Sundance is actually, last year is when we decided to make this film. And thematically, we both really wanted to do something that was personal to us, because we both have had people in our lives affected by Alzheimer's, people we care about, but we didn't want to do something typical that was like, there's been so many beautiful stories about, you know, just the way that people's lives get destroyed by this horrible disease, but we wanted something that was kind of like almost a surprise. Like you didn't know what it really was going to be until the payoff at the end. So we kind of came up with this thriller narrative because we related the experience of a person suffering to someone who's kind of, you know, like losing their grip on reality in the way that you would see in like a spy thriller.
All right. Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks very much. Okay, so now at this point, I'm going to open up some questions to the audience, a couple of questions. Anyone have any questions for any of our filmmakers out here? And I'm gonna look one more time. Aha, okay. We'll start with the nice man over here.
Just interested in the locations, particularly for people like you and
Yeah.
Ben Radici.
Okay,
Where
okay,
was
got
shot?
So locations, okay, so we'll go with you guys.
We shot in Brentwood, in Los Angeles, and then Palmdale as well. That's where we got all the like the desert shots and all that kind of thing.
Okay, and for you guys?
Radici has been shot in the region called Marche, which is on Rome, opposite coast, on the east coast of Italy. That's where I'm from, close to Fano. And the locations were amazing because we got all of them for free. My mother will walk the dog in the morning, go knock at doors, or like find a White House, like not too fancy, but a little more rustic, and she would just go scope around because I was here to just be my location manager, and
That's
the
great.
whole village helped.
That is great, that's really
The chickens
great.
are my mother's chickens, so they were the stars of the film.
That's awesome. All right, thank you. Okay, and we had another question. Yes.
What was your name again, the Acceptables director?
Michelle Lyman?
Okay, Michelle, I was wondering if you think that like if we don't, okay, how do I ask this? Do you think that that's coming?
Yeah, that's the point of it, is
Yeah.
that if we don't put some checks and balances and get a rein on the madness, then the madness can go anywhere and anything can happen. And when I revised and it ended up being a completely different story, it was because I wanted to be, everybody will or has been on a first date, right? So it's like the anticipation and maybe some romance and you're hopeful and you're not thinking it's gonna turn deadly. But the culture that we're in now, anything can happen and anything will happen if we continue to let the madness just roam free. So yeah, that was the point.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, in the back.
Yeah, this is for Michelle. I'm just wondering, did you name the character Ronald? Ron McDonald?
You know what? I actually didn't. I didn't when I was writing it, and it just came out. And then as I kept going, I think my daughter, where's my daughter? She's here. She was my makeup artist and my still photographer. I think she said, you know, that rhymes with Donald. Do you want people to think you did that on purpose? And I was like, no, but I was stuck to the name then. I kind of, so I just kept it. I'm like, well, they're gonna think what they're gonna think.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna take one more question from the audience. Yes, up front.
General question, the subject matter obviously varies, but when you create a film like this, are you targeting a time, like the range in 20 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever? Is that something that you have at the outset, or is it the script that determines the ultimate editing and time?
Okay, so anyone would like to answer that over here? Yep.
So I think you're always, especially when you're making a short, you're trying to make it as concise as possible, and then because you're also seeing your movie in a block, so you're squeezing a lot of it. Normally it's like a page a minute, and so you look at that, you kind of have a general, outlook on how long it's going to be, and then you make it, and then you're really happy that you made this movie, and you want it to be as long as possible. And you're like, let's make it a little bit shorter, so we get in the festivals.
All right. Any of our filmmakers want to add to that or agree? Yeah.
Yeah, so we first wrote our general story, but then when it came down to the script itself, we really wanted to make sure it was 10 minutes because, again, it's just like, for us, it was our first film, and we didn't want anything that we couldn't handle, but we just have always heard that 10 minutes is like the key number when you're trying to make a short. So
Right.
we were really very strict about how long our first effort was going to be.
Right. All right. Thank you. Great question. Okay, so I'm going to conclude with one last question. I really want to know what is next for your film. Any future plans? Where can we see it now? And any future upcoming projects? So go ahead.
We're doing another festival in March, which
We're
is
the March 1st with the New York City International Film Festival.
Okay, great.
you can see that, and I just shot a horror movie upstate, and that's the next thing we're doing.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Oh,
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
So we're just in the beginning stages of our film festival run, so I haven't heard back from most of them. But I did hear back from the Las Vegas Black Film Festival, and we got into that.
Yay.
So we'll be screening in April.
Okay, great, thanks, okay.
We just got into DC International Film Fest, so we'll be there in March. We're gonna keep waiting and for everything else.
Okay, great.
Radici has been premiered at the Vancouver Italian Film Festival. That was his North America premiere. And we're at the very beginning of the stage of submitting, so we're hoping to get into more festivals. I'm currently working on my feature film, which is not Italian at all,
Okay.
but so it's not a sequel or not.
So it's not tied to this
No,
short,
it's not
okay.
tied. It's a separate project. I had an idea 1.5 years ago, and I'm keep working on the script with a writer, and still, first draft is not good, so we're gonna go back and put more work, and it's gonna be good at the end.
Okay, great, thanks.
For our second short film, it's going to be another 10-minute project, I would say. And then on top of that, Courtney and I are each writing a feature that we're going to help each other make someday.
Great, awesome. All right, well, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for coming out tonight, and thank you both.